Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John Coulter. I'm National President of Sustainable Population Australia, at least until this afternoon when we have our AGM. SPA, for those who are not members, is a national conservation body committed to attempting to build an environmentally sustainable Australia in an environmentally sustainable world. We recognise that the two principal drivers of unsustainability are continual population growth and continual press for more and more economic growth. Our principal concern then is at the population end of that equation, but not ignoring the fact that we also need to address the problem of increasing consumption, which is roughly paralleled by increasing gross domestic product and economic growth. Now, there are, of course, a number of indicators that we are not living sustainably at the present time. But this morning we're concentrating on only two of those, climate change and peak oil. But I want you all the time while you're thinking about these to remember that these are only two of the indicators of our unsustainability. We could have picked a number of others, but these are two which are pressing in on us at the present time. But they are, as it were, symptoms of a much deeper problem. Now, Professor Barry Brook will speak first, and he is speaking on climate change. We've had him in this auditorium before, and we're very, very impressed with what he had to say then, and we, of course, invited him back because of that. And I think many of you will have seen a number of things that he's written and have been very aware of his competence in the climate change area. Michael Adelaide, who comes from genetics in this university, will then speak on peak oil, and he's speaking particularly on peak oil in relation to population. Then Phil Lorne, who comes from Flinders University, will pick up on the theme of the economic end of this. Everybody is now aware that we are in a very serious economic situation, but unfortunately many of our politicians don't seem to realise that underlying the economic situation is also an environmental one, and unless the environmental one is tackled simultaneously with the economic one, there is no solution going down that road. As Herman Daly has pointed out very nicely in an essay, it's not a problem of not enough liquidity, but it's a problem of too much liquidity. There is too much money chasing too few natural resources in a finite world. And then, if you haven't already been convinced before the presentations, Mark O'Connor will finish up talking about some of the impediments to getting this understanding more broadly taken up in the wider community. Each speaker will speak for 20 minutes, and I will be quite rigid with the time. I'll give each speaker a gong 2 minutes before the 20 minutes. There will be no questions immediately after the speeches, but at the end we'll have 40 minutes. We'll have all the speakers up here, and there'll be a general question and answer and discussion session. And finally, for those of you who are not already members of Sustainable Population Australia, please consider joining us. There is a very significant increase more recently in an understanding that population growth is driving a lot of our unsustainable problems. We see that in South Australia and in relation to what's happening in Mount Barker in the northern and southern suburbs and so on. And of course in the outskirts of Melbourne and Sydney and recently where I was on the Gold Coast in Brisbane. So consider joining us. Copies of Mark's book are on the table outside for $16 a copy or $30 for two. And I will hand this card around with a sheet on it. If people could put their names down, either as members or non-members, so that we do have a record of who has attended today. So I will call first of all on Barry to come and address us on population and climate change. Oh, and there are membership forms tucked in behind this if you'd like to sign one of those.